Hello and welcome to Odds Now. It's the big one, the World Darts Championship final on Friday, the 3rd of January, 2025. And it's the one that we all wanted, Luke Littler versus Michael van Gerwen. Matt Pyman Hill has been doing the tips and the previews here on Odds Now every day throughout the tournament, and we have landed here today and plenty to look forward to, Matt.
Yeah. Great final. I'm not sure where this tournament will rank in terms of all-time great world championships, to be honest. I was looking back on it, and there's been, as you would expect with any tournament of this caliber, been some good games, good moments, but I don't think it's been the highest quality world championship overall. I think there's been quite a lot of games that have flattered to deceive. But yeah, some great moments in there. MVG Callum Rid's probably my game of the tournament thus far. We have a final that could potentially usurp that, obviously. So, yeah, I think World Championships are probably best remembered for their finals, aren't they? And when you look at the two players in it, this could go. It could rapidly drag the quality of this World Championship up this final.
Yeah, and I think on that theme, we have to start by looking back at the semi-finals, which to me, neither of them really took off. Chris Dobey was easily beaten by Van Gerwen, and Stephen Bunting was even easierly beaten by Luke Littler, in my opinion. Just didn't really grab your attention, did they, as a viewer, either of them? And a bit of a theme of what's been happening in recent years in the semis.
Yeah, we were just discussing this off camera. It's a third year in a row now where no losing semi-finalist has managed to get above 2 sets, which is quite becoming quite a trend now. And I think when you examine the people in those semi-finals, maybe we do need to take this a little bit more seriously, because a couple of years ago we had Gabriel Clemens and Dimitri Vandenberg both getting hammered. We had Scott Williams get hammered last year. I'm giving Rob Cross a pass because he obviously played Littler in a sublime game. I think Cross still averaged about 103 in that game. And then this year, Dobey and Bunting both fell into fire. Hands up, I had these as two quite close games. I thought that if the two guys carried in their quarterfinal performances into the semi-finals, they would be close games. But yeah, it just didn't happen for them. Both of them failed to fire. I think for different reasons, to be honest. I think Dobey never really looked comfortable, but I did think there was a pivotal moment at the end of the second set. Spurned 3 darts to make it 1-1, and he just never really settled after that, did he? I know he nicked the third set. But yeah, Van Gerwen, I think Dobey's obviously suffered. He's got a bit of PTSD against Van Gerwen. Although his recent record is a lot better, he has had some heavy beatings on high-profile occasions. And I think once you go 2-0 down and you've got that PTSD, it maybe beat himself a little bit there, thinking, I'm not going to catch MVG here. He's on one and stuff. But give some credit to Van Gerwen as well. He did everything he needed to do. Some great checkouts at key times, kind of stomped any momentum that Dobey was starting to get up. And Dobey will learn from that experience, I think, as well. Bunting, I was really disappointed in. I thought he showed Littler far too much respect. I really don't like these fist bumps.
Aspinall did the same.
It's a semi-final and a quarter-final of a world championship, and I know they know the lad, and they've seen him grow up, and it must be difficult playing a kid, I suppose. But trust me, Van Gerwen's not going to have any issues giving it big licks when he hits a finish, and I don't think Van Gerwen will be fist bumping him every leg. I mean, maybe you might get a fist bump for a 9-darter, but even that's not certain, to be honest. We've seen Van Gerwen just crack on sometimes after a 9-darter, and he's got an entirely different attitude, hasn't he? But yeah, in summary, 2 disappointing semi-finals. I've learned lessons from them, I think, and something that I'll be factoring into next year. I think you really do need 2 players who've been there and done it to make for a good semi-final. And maybe the occasion just got to the 2 losers last night, but certainly sets up an exciting game tonight.
Yeah, well, course and distance form is always something that I think is key to add to the Ali Pali and the World Championships. I say that every year. Now, they've both been to quarterfinals before. Now they've gone one step further and gone to semi-finals. That's Bunting and Dobey. So fair play to them. Just didn't quite turn up in the semi-finals themselves. And Van Gerwen, this is going to be his 7th World Championship final. He's actually lost 3 and won 3 so far. And fair play to people like yourself and Connor, who in our big preview said, as we've all said, Van Gerwen hasn't had a vintage year. He hasn't had a vintage year since his peak vintage about 5 or 6 years ago. That don't mean that he's a terrible player, just not quite as dominant as what he used to be. But the peer review did say that in the World Championship, the big one, he turns up. And he has. That's what's happened. Forget what's gone in the rest of this year. He's turned up this tournament and he's been very, very good. He's looked, as close to being back to his best as I've seen him for a while. And much less, should I say, on the outer ring, chasing doubles round. Van Gerwen, when his form's been not so great, often, inside the tops, inside the 10s, or inside the 16s, inside the 8s. We've not been seeing that a lot, I don't think. I think it's his doubling that has been much improved and much the best in this tournament. So he is 2-1 outsider in the final. Luke Littler is 2-5. I said to myself last night that they were the prices I was kind of expecting, given that we've been watching the outright markets throughout the year. But I said to myself, if Van Gerwen is 2-1 or bigger, I will back him, and that's what I'm going to do.
Yeah, and I don't think it's. I think it's really difficult to argue against backing Van Gerwen here. To be honest, because it is a world final. It's a unique situation. And like you say, we've seen so many positive sides from Van Gerwen over the last couple of weeks. And I do think that he just plays the occasion and the venue and the World Championships better than anybody else, to be frank. Littler's a worthy favourite, isn't he? I've tried taking on Littler all through the tournament in various ways with some success, but ultimately he has continued to prove me wrong. People will just think that maybe that this is stubbornness, but do I still have some concerns over Littler? Yeah, I do. I still don't feel like he's been absolutely pushed to the limit. I think he's had 2 games against 2 people who were very friendly with him last time out. Yeah, he was much the better player. But I think you've got to try and unsettle him. You can't let him feel that comfortable up on the stage. You made a mention of it on New Year's Day about how much he's interacting with the crowd and stuff, and just being able to enjoy it. It's been played like a glorified exhibition at times against Littler, and I think Van Gerwen is going to give him such a different test. He's going to be on it from the first minute. There's going to be little to no interaction once game on is called, and yeah, Littler, he's going to have to stand up to the task, continue to produce the outrageous scoring that he has done all the way through the tournament, the scoring that has meant that nobody's been able to really get near him, maybe other than Ryan Joyce. And yeah, like Van Gerwen, we all know what Van Gerwen needs to do. He's not going to be able to live with Littler on the 180s, but if he continues to finish the way he has, like you say, up at around 45% for the tournament, which is exceptional doubling by anyone's standards, then he's not going to be far away. And the ultimate thing with Van Gerwen is, I think it was referencing commentary last night, he just understands set play and the intricacies and the big moments, and he knows that there are certain legs that matter a lot more than others. We see it all the time, players having 12 dart holds and looking really, really good. But if you don't back it up in the next leg, it's worthless. At the end of the day, it's only about who wins the set and who hits the big shots at the big times. And a couple of times last night, even against Dorby and particularly against Callum Ridds, Van Gerwen just produces the big shot exactly when he needs it. And he knows when to give it, and he knows when to just keep his powder dry as well. He's a master of the format. Like you say, so many world finals. He's been on both sides of the coin. He comes in as an underdog, which I think suits him down to the ground. I think he loves that quietly. He might say that, I shouldn't be the underdog. I'm not the underdog in my own head. But to have everyone talking about Littler, surely that suits Van Gerwen. So, yeah, I'm expecting a really high quality affair. And if you're asking me if there's a bet in the outright market, I lean your way. Anything north of 2-1. I think there's maybe a bit 9-4.
Yeah, it's 9-4. I've just seen that. Yeah. So when I initially said it was 2-1, yeah, 9-4. We bet Victor.
Well, every man and his dog that watches darts once a year wants to be with Luke Littler, don't they? And I understand why. And look, as we say all the time, it's not anti-Littler. Littler is a worthy favourite. I do think Littler wins this game more often than not, but I think Van Gerwen, there's more than enough reason to want to get with him at 9-4.
And that is the key, what Matt said there, in terms of he's had 2 friendly and 2 pretty easy games coming into this. He's played well in both of them. He's averaged over 100 in both of them, against Aspinall 101 and against Bunting 105. We're not questioning these standards of play. We're just questioning the makeup of the game and the makeup of the occasion and the opponent. And Matt's called it absolutely right there. This is a different test, and the biggest game of them all. He didn't get over the line last year. Will he get over the line this year? That's the question. On the crowd interaction, yeah, I flagged that. He might well be doing it on purpose to help himself relax, but he's been over.
Really noticeable, isn't it? It's really, really noticeable.
One thing I will call out that I don't like, and he's done it twice, at least twice I've seen, when the other player is
waving
going for a finish, waving the crowd up. When the other lad's about to throw for a finish, that's not on for me. That's not on. And
I think he thinks. I saw a bit of debate about this on social media. I tend to agree. I think he thinks he's doing it in a good way, but he shouldn't be doing it. Someone needs to tell him to stop doing it. You're throwing for a big double, and then your opponent's behind whipping the crowd up. It's just not like we've seen people do it in a positive way, like give him a
on
round
their
of
own,
applause and stuff. But it's the timing of it, isn't it? It's you don't do it when someone's gone for a pivotal double in the World
We've seen
Championship.
someone do it. Some people do it on their own throw. Scott Williams has done it on his own throw.
Exactly.
But not
Exactly,
when
and
the other
that's
person's
fine.
throwing.
That's fine. If you're the
I tell
kind
you
of
what, he
player
won't get
that
away
likes
with that
to do
tonight. He won't. If he does that
No.
tonight and Van Gerwen catches him doing it, there'll be problems.
Yeah. He will. I agree, and that just more leads into what we said about he's got away with things he wouldn't get away with against Van Gerwen, with Aspinall, with Bunting. There's just a friendly vibe to it and stuff, and hitting that. There was a moment as well when Bunting hit a 170 to leave a double, and Littler then stepped in and took the 170 and gave him a little nod, and he was giving him the high five and stuff. I just thought, you imagine Van Gerwen with that. He would just blank him. He'd just stare into the abyss. So it's I'm really looking forward to watching it unfold. And I think from a neutral perspective, all you want is you just want it to be one set all after two. You want both to settle in, play their best game, and you don't want anyone to run away with it, because there is a danger. We've got to be honest about it. There is a danger that Littler will just outpower Van Gerwen, and Van Gerwen, despite all of his fantastic finishing, as we saw with Joyce, fantastic finishing only comes into play if you get the chance to finish. Littler has a gear that won't let anybody finish. If he finds that gear from the start, which is a big if, he could easily go 3 or 4-0 up, and it could be game over. Good night, Irene. But if Van Gerwen gets in and Littler starts to think a little bit more about where he is, which he doesn't do all that often, but let's remember he's been in one World Championship final and he lost it, and that's not a criticism, that's just a fact. So if Van Gerwen can get ahead and really put some pressure on him, how are them doubles going to hold up? Because we have seen moments in this tournament where the doubles haven't held up. The double 10 seems to hold up like a metronome for him. And I honestly think at times when he has 2 in hand, he pulls tops low on purpose to go over to 10s. I genuinely do think that. I'm starting to see a repeated pull on double top, because when he has last out in hand at double 10, it just seems almost subconscious. It just flows. Look how quickly he moves on to the double 10 after pulling the tops, and he never really goes over on tops. He always goes under. I think he knows subconsciously, get me on that double 10 last start, I'll pin it. And that's brilliant to have, but he's not always going to have that luxury. If you've got 2 darts still in hand and you're on tops, that means you're well ahead in the leg. Van Gerwen's going to be, breathing down his neck here and stuff. And it might feel like, to people listening here, I'm just looking for a way to get Littler beat. I'm not. I think Littler, I'll repeat this again, I think Littler's a worthy favourite. I think he's the likeliest winner. But I do think he's going to have a much harder night from Van Gerwen than he's had from Bunting and Aspinall. I thought Bunting was going to give him a harder night than he did Aspinall. I was disappointed with Bunting, disappointed with the amount of respect he gave him, and also missed crucial doubles at key times, which he hasn't been doing. Yeah, not expecting that from Van Gerwen.
You'll know better than me, but the rivalry's been built up as Luke versus Luke in the last 18 months, 14 months, really. How often have we seen, other than the Premier League, how often have we seen Van Gerwen and Littler play each other? Not often, is it, in big tournaments?
Yeah, no, so the head-to-head is only it's 6-6, I believe, in all competitions, and 6-5 to Van Gerwen in actual, because that's taken out a sort of exhibition in the I think it was the Bahrain Darts Masters, which I'm refusing to actually count as an event. But yeah, Van Gerwen has the head-to-head on it. Van Gerwen's referenced it in an interview recently. I've had one of my worst years, and I still have a superior head-to-head record over him. So you can't argue with it, can you? Really? We all know that Littler's base level of scoring is going to get him more chances than Van Gerwen, but Van Gerwen's finishing has been sublime in this tournament, as you reference, and I think it's a very interesting, nicely set up final, shall we say.
Right, on to the bets then. We've said the outright markets: Littler 2-5, Van Gerwen 9-4. There's plenty of other market specials, etc. Where have you landed with your tips for this one?
Well, I'm going to just say beforehand that obviously all the bookies, they're desperate to take advantage of this interesting dart. So you get markets rolled out that you will never get on any other game, countless specials, and 99% of these are absolutely dreadful value. Awful bets for mug punters. They are, seeing things like 6 ton checkouts from Van Gerwen, 3-1 and stuff like that. Absolutely dreadful pricing. But people will back them. People who never watch darts and think, I'll just have a tenner on that. They're just cleaning up. Mug Central. Now, if you've got the time to troll through these odds on that market, you might find the odd one that is borderline value, but I just don't think it's worth the hassle, to be honest. I really don't. So just be aware of what it is. It's the bookies just trying to take in all the floating casual money and just give them a wide berth would be my general advice. Now, we have some markets that are always priced up for every game at the World Championship, which I do think there might be a little angling with. But again, it's just a game of darts. Next year, I will bet on hundreds of games of darts, mainly in tennis park centres in Wigan and stuff like that, and having a winner in a game like that is worth exactly the same as the World Championship final. So do not feel like you have to get carried away having a bet in this game just because it's the World Championship final. I've put a few up that might be of interest, but I could say hand on heart here, I'm just going to be watching this game. I'm just going to be watching this game. No bets actually coming out of my wallet tonight. So that's a full expose there. So you know where I stand. However, if I was looking for a bet, these are the three that stand out to me. Any checkout of over 152.5. Now, these two both love a checkout. We all know how much Luke Littler loves a 170, leaves it intentionally, pinned it against Stephen Bunting last night. Van Gerwen, in his last two games against Dorby and Callum Ridds, has covered this line. He had a 153 against Ridds and a 158 against Dorby last night. He is finishing excellently. I also think Van Gerwen likes to land a psychological blow in games like this, and he may be more inclined to go for a big finish where he would lay up in another game because he likes to, just give it to his opponent. And I think he'll look to ruffle Littler's feathers at any opportunity he can in this match. So I just think when you add all of those components together and you also consider the length of game, this is the longest game of the calendar year, providing it goes over 9 sets. So there's so many opportunities to land this. You only need one to go in. I'm expecting, say, over the course of the game, we get 10 attempts at a finish like this. And these two, when they're dialed in, easily going to have a chance of pinning one. So I think at 5 to 6, you take your chance there if you're that way inclined. The averages lines are of interest to me. Van Gerwen's is pitched at about 98.5 over under. I wouldn't have a strong opinion on that either way. But Littler's average 102.5 over under. I think you could quite confidently play the over line here. He's averaged 103, 102, and 105 in his last 3 games. And to be frank, he's not finished that well in any of them. Well, he finished well against Bunting last night. I'll give him credit there. I think he was up over 40% for the first time in the tournament. But my point in case being, Littler still manages to average over a ton even when he's not doubling well because of his scoring. He has freakish scoring. And if anything, I think he will look to lift that scoring to another level. He'll know he needs to be at his very best scoring wise tonight against Van Gerwen. So I think the 102.5, if you were putting a gun to my head and said, do you want to be over or under it? I'd want to be over. Look at Littler's average last year in the World Final as well, covered this line quite comfortably. So, yeah, plenty of reasons for me to think he might, cover that line and get over. And the final one that I'll put up for this game, obviously, Littler's a 2 to 5 chance, as we say. If you're looking for a way to back Littler, but you don't want to back it at 2 to 5, why not consider Littler to win, but Van Gerwen to hit the highest checkout? I don't think the highest checkout is conducive to who wins this game, frankly. If you look at the last 5 World Finals, Humphries and Littler, for the first time ever, tied it with a 170 apiece. But before that, in the 4 previous years, it was 2 times the loser hit the highest checkout, 2 times the winner hit the highest checkout. I don't think over a game of this length, who hits the highest checkout, you could quite feasibly have a situation where Van Gerwen hits a 160 and Littler hits a 154. That's not going to have any impact on who wins the game, really. Now, the reason this price is a little bit inflated, obviously you're taking a 2 to 5 shot up to 15 to 8. The main reason it's inflated, I think, is because of Littler's love for the 170. But I think that's been more than factored into the price. And I think if you were looking to get Littler on side, you could do a lot worse than chance Van Gerwen hitting a big checkout. Over the course of the tournament, Van Gerwen has hit 10 3-figure outs to Littler's 8. He is finishing exceptionally well, and I think he will give you a good run for your money. And obviously, if people are looking for a fun bet, this will be alive till the last start as well. So I couldn't put you off that at 15 to 8. But as I say, my general summary is you don't need to force a bet in this game. It's going to be an absolute joy to watch as a darts fan. Just sit back and enjoy it.
And the 180 line, just on its own, is set at about 37. So they're expecting to see in tonight's game, if this is the only game you watch of darts this year, you're expected to see 37 180s. I mean, what more do you want on a Friday night when there's no other sport on, Pie Man? I mean,
No, well, I actually thought if you were seeing this as a game that goes all the way as well, Bet365 have got an interesting market as well. It's a 180s handicap, so Littler's obviously got to cover the handicap against Van Gerwen. But I was thinking the middle line would be like something like 4 or 5. It's like he's expected to out 180 by about 10 as the kind of middle. So that just tells you how much of a scoring freak Littler is, really. And I was also looking at the stats for because you could back him 11 to 8 to hit a 180 in every set. There's only 4 sets in this tournament he hasn't hit a 180. So that 11 to 8 could be worth a look as well. But I just think against Van Gerwen, like I say, I think he's going to be put under pressure, and I think there will be maybe 1 or 2 sets where Van Gerwen just tears away. But yeah, in terms of score prediction, I'll do it just for fun. As I say, I'm not having a bet, but I'd maybe lean towards 7-5 Littler. I think Van Gerwen will. I can't see Van Gerwen getting scrubbed. I've seen a few people putting up like 7-2 Littler, 7-1 Littler, and I understand how good Littler has been, but it's Michael van Gerwen in the final. He's not going to get scrubbed, surely.
yeah, I agree with that. No, I've been like you, looking to take Littler on at every point in the tournament, mainly because of his price. But we've got at some stage, and I know there is reason. The two previous games have been too friendly, but you've just got to accept that he has been fantastic. You've just got to accept that his averages have been through the ceiling. He's been 100 and whatever it was last night against Bunting, 105, 101 before that. It's just been fantastic. But it's just a price play. It is just a price play, as you often say. 9-4.
If somebody said, if somebody turned to us and said, "Look, you guys have been trying to get Littler beat all tournament, and you're still doing it now," you would have to hold your hands up and say, "Yeah, I am." But I mean, I feel like this is an intangible, and whenever there's an intangible, there might be a bit of value, and we don't know how he's gonna cope with this world final where he's lost before, where he's playing Van Gerwen, who's absolutely. Van Gerwen has a level in him where if he brings his A game, you could argue that he could. Littler might not have a chance. I mean, we haven't seen Van Gerwen's A game for a long time, but it can come out. There's nothing to say it won't come out. There's been signs there. I think the performance against Callum Ridds in particular would excite you as a Van Gerwen backer, wouldn't it? So yeah, I'm really intrigued to see this game. I think he's got a little bit wide at 9-4, but that does not mean that I don't think Luke Littler will not be lifting that World Championship trophy tonight. I think there's a very, very strong chance he does, and if he does, there'll not be an ounce of criticism from me. Yes, I've took him on most of the rounds, but he'll be a thoroughly deserved champion, and I'm sure it'll be the first of many. But yeah, there's a big part of me that would like to see Van Gerwen lift it as well.
I'll tell you what would be interesting, and no doubt we'll cover it here on Odds Now, is the prices for next year's World Championship, which will probably be available in the next 48 hours.
Yeah, I was going to stick you on the spot with this. What would you make Littler if he wins tonight for next year's? Would he be odds on?
No, he wouldn't be odds on. Remember, he came into this tournament at what was he, 9-4 ish, 2-1. So he might well be even money or something like that, which is obviously not very far away from odds on. But I just can't feel him being odds on personally. But clearly, if it depends in the manner of which he wins tonight. Humphries obviously fell too early in this tournament for Luke Humphries' liking. So yeah, it will be interesting, and it'll also be interesting when we get round to the Masters, which is the first big tournament of 2025 after the Worlds, where the prices are there, because there's going to be a lot of change in the world rankings, if not already, with Michael Smith, etc. And away from Littler and Van Gerwen, there has been a hell of a lot of upsets in this tournament, and that is a continued theme of 2024, may well be continuing into 2025. So, as always, we'll be back with a review of this tournament, and we'll soon be looking towards the Masters and Players' Championships, and we'll get rolling towards the UK Open and the Premier League, etc. So, as always, it's non-stop in the darting world.
The show goes on, and to be honest, I would agree with you. I think about even money will be where they put Littler. And I don't think you could put him much bigger, to be honest, because I think people will just be desperate to take it. It'd be the kind of thing people are throwing in like multiples, year-long multiples and stuff like that. But from our perspective, and two people who follow the dart and believe that there's a lot of quality knocking around at the top end of dart and a lot of banana skins, I'm sure we'll find reason again to take him on if he is even money next year. And and find angles in with the likes of Humphries, with the likes of Van Gerwen. So darts is in a great place. Whatever happens, I think this is going to be a fantastic final. I hope all the viewers enjoy it as much as I will. And like you say, we're going to be straight back. Probably we're looking at the World Championship market for next year when it comes up. Probably looking with the Masters prices as soon as they come out. And we have got some sort of exhibition-y stuff in January as well, haven't we, on the World Series, which probably won't be much of a betting medium. But if it is, I'll be here to preview it.
Absolutely. Right. Thanks for watching. Let us know in the comments who you're backing. And we cannot wait for the World Championship final taking place tonight. We'll be back soon.